Same question. Who you got and why?
Well, let me preface this by saying, and this will give away my pick, but I hope I'm wrong. I mean, I hope I'm wrong in this one because I would love to see the top two MVP candidates facing off in the Super Bowl. And it's happened 4 times before, so it's not like incredibly unique. But it feels like this race was so close. Like a week before the end of the season, it felt like Drake May, he was the odds-on favorite, right? Like he was going to win it, and then Stafford took it away again, we think. So I'd love to see the Stafford-Drake May Super Bowl, all right? But I think Seattle's going to win the game. And, Nick, I think they're the better overall team. Now, if you just go down the roster, you can find ways to say, well, the Rams are better. Look at these guys, right? But when I look at those 2 games and I see that Seattle lost the turnover battle 7-1.
Yep.
And there was 1 point difference between the 2 teams in the 2 games. Seattle lost the first game by 2 points with their quarterback throwing 4 interceptions and then won the second game by a point. Still, the quarterback threw 2 interceptions. They lost the turnover battle 3-0, and they still won. So I think Sam Darnold's going to play a clean, maybe not a totally clean game, but I don't think he'll have multiple interceptions. I think he may have 1 interception, 1 turnover, whatever, but I think he'll be relatively clean. And then I think because of that, they'll be able to win this game. And that Rams defense, Nick, I know it was strong early in the season. Lately, last 6 weeks, they've given up 31 to Carolina twice. All right? Detroit put 34 on them. Seattle, 38. Atlanta, 27. And these were games they were trying to win. Mm-hmm. And then on top of that, I don't think Stafford's been great in the playoffs. Now, he might be great in this game. And he was great in the second game against the Seattle, and they still lost. But in the playoffs, he's got 3 touchdowns, 1 interception in 2 games, and a completion percentage of just 52%. I know he threw for like 300 yards against Carolina, but overall,
and all his touchdowns and interceptions came against Carolina.
Right, exactly.
The Bears game, he had 240 yards, but completed 48%
no touchdown,
of his passes.
Right. Yeah. So I just think that he hasn't been himself in these playoffs against worse defenses than he's about to face. And I just think Seattle has shown in those 2 games they're the better overall team.
Mm-hmm.
These 2 teams played twice. In the first meeting, the Rams led after the first quarter, the second quarter, the third quarter, and the fourth quarter. In the second meeting, the Rams led after the first quarter, the second quarter, third quarter, and then there was a punt return, and things got haywire on them, and they lost, and Seattle had a miraculous comeback, and I think it's fair to call it miraculous because of the 2-point conversion play involved.
Yep.
And then the Rams gathered themselves and scored a touchdown in overtime and lost the game anyway. The Rams this year, and that game, in my opinion, that Seattle loss, the knock-on effect was the following week against Atlanta. And other than that, their losses this year are a blocked field goal to Philly, overtime to the Niners, by 3, and the Carolina game. I feel like the Rams have been the best team in the NFL all year. I look at Stafford's playoffs this year differently than you, Brew. I thought he had a bad pass against Carolina, but I thought he was really good in that game, and I thought the Rams as a whole were very mediocre offensively, him included in the Bears game. But I don't look at it as like a bad playoffs as much as a bad game against the Bears they got away with.
He just hadn't been
and
MVP level.
Stafford, but for the totality of his time in the playoffs with the Rams, has been an all-time great. As far as if you were to say, and if we show his playoff numbers since he got to the Rams, the only quarterback who's been consistently better than Matt Stafford in the playoffs this decade is Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, sure.
Also the only quarterback with more Super Bowl wins than him.
All right, listen up. Seriously, pay close attention. This is precisely why the focal point here is not Matthew Stafford. This is the reason I continually emphasize that this matchup fundamentally represents a clash between Mike Macdonald and Sean McVay. Let's be unequivocally clear. Matthew Stafford was not the transformative element. Observe the timeline. His impact is measured since joining the Rams in 2021. That detail is significant, isn't it? It profoundly matters. Therefore, my analytical lens is fixed on the strategic duel between McDonald and McVay. Indulging in an extended celebration of Stafford's prowess is, at this juncture, entirely irrelevant. Stafford did not deliver an elite performance against the Carolina Panthers. Bryce Young outplayed him. This is a factual statement. I apologize if this wounds any sentiments, but it remains an incontrovertible fact. He simply was not good. To vaguely attribute the struggle to the whole offense is a misdirection. Matthew Stafford's accuracy was subpar in that contest. It wasn't a case of dropped passes by receivers or a failing run game. The primary issue was Stafford's imprecision. He also committed multiple fumbles. It's fascinating how narratives shift. We seem fixated on discussing fumbles when it involves Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson, but the topic becomes strangely off-limits regarding Matthew Stafford. It's not permitted. Apparently, it's just not allowed. Consequently, this contest boils down to Mike McDonald versus Sean McVay. I will reiterate this point. That is the essential core of this game. Analyzing it through a simplistic quarter-by-quarter lens is reductive. Similarly, dissecting a team's regular season losses in isolation is an exercise in folly. Referencing a specific blocked field goal loss to Carolina is a tactic applicable to nearly every team's season. We could play that game for the Chiefs, the Eagles, the Seahawks, anyone. Let's illustrate this right now. Take the Seahawks' first loss. They were poised to secure a victory until a player collided with Sam Darnold, causing a fumble, a near miss. In the Buccaneers-Seahawks game, they were driving to win before a pass deflected off a helmet for an interception, compounded by an earlier failed trick play. Alter those moments, and they likely win. Their subsequent loss to the Rams, 1 yard closer on a final drive, and a made field goal likely seals a win. They triumphed in all their other contests. This what-if game can be applied universally. We can just as easily reverse the perspective for the Rams. They defeated the Colts due to an anomalous offensive play and an egregious dropped touchdown by a Colts receiver. They lost to a team quarterbacked by Mac Jones. They faced Cooper Rush and the Ravens. They played the Jaguars during their most chaotic period. They beat the Saints. Congratulations. They defeated the 49ers when Mac Jones was under center. Again, commendable. They narrowly defeated the Seahawks, despite the opposing quarterback committing 4 turnovers. A slightly more efficient 2-minute drill from Seattle could have reversed that outcome. They beat the Buccaneers when Baker Mayfield was knocked out early, a non-playoff team. They lost to the playoff-bound Panthers. They played the Cardinals, an afterthought. In the Wild Lions-Rams game, they surrendered 34 points to a non-playoff team and repeatedly relied on fourth down conversions. A single stop by Detroit could have changed the result. If we insist on navigating this narrow path of hypotheticals, we can continue indefinitely. If Puka Nacua doesn't force a critical fumble, they lose to Carolina. If Caleb Williams avoids a pivotal interception, they lose to Chicago. My entire emphasis is this. These are accurate counterpoints. If you wish to engage in that speculative game, then let's engage fully and acknowledge the inherent volatility. I recognize there is a pervasive desire to orchestrate a prolonged admiration session for Matthew Stafford, and I find this tendency somewhat grating. This is particularly true because I was vocal in my appreciation for Stafford's abilities before it became the prevailing trend. Last season, amidst discussions of quarterback tiers, I consistently identified him as a clear Tier 1 elite quarterback. My sole reservation was his age and the uncertainty regarding his sustained performance level. That was my only caveat. Now that he is excelling with the Rams, the discourse has shifted to effusive, ceilingless praise. Simultaneously, there's an attempt to downplay the broader organizational context. Recall last season when Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp were injured. In those games, Stafford had more interceptions than touchdowns. He performed poorly, he performed inadequately. Presently, there's an effort to construct a narrative that Stafford has been the premier playoff quarterback, second only to Patrick Mahomes, since 2021. This is simply incorrect. It is factually inaccurate, especially if you examine individual game performances. My reaction stems from this excessive reduction of the upcoming game to a singular figure, Matthew Stafford of the Rams. I find this narrative obnoxious. It becomes tedious when you consider the presence of head coach Sean McVay. the offensive weaponry of Puka Nacua, Devonta Adams, and others. The victory over the Bears last week was not secured solely by Matthew Stafford. It was anchored by exceptional defensive play and the strategic acumen of Sean McVay. I cannot comprehend why this perspective would be controversial to Rams supporters. I will never understand a fan base's compulsion to disproportionately elevate their quarterback beyond merit when it isn't fully warranted. There are moments where such praise is justified, but this overarching narrative often overlooks the collective effort. You possess a formidable team. Matthew Stafford is a legitimate MVP candidate, and Puka Nacua is a finalist for Offensive Player of the Year. Historically, other elite quarterbacks have faced critiques for relying on exceptional offensive weapons, yet Patrick Mahomes and, curiously, Matthew Stafford appear exempt from this facet of the conversation. Can someone elucidate why this double standard exists? I am genuinely curious. I need an explanation. Consider the media treatment. A figure like Nick consistently diminishes Jared Goff, mocking him relentlessly, yet acknowledges Goff's achievement of reaching a Super Bowl. However, when Sean McVay accomplishes the same with Matthew Stafford, guiding him to a Super Bowl victory and a playoff win, a feat Stafford had never achieved independently, there is a reluctance to allocate commensurate credit to McVay and his staff. Yet, this same analyst readily credits Kyle Shanahan for the successes of Brock Purdy and Jimmy Garoppolo. The inconsistency is glaring. Sam Darnold experienced a renaissance under Kevin O'Connell. Andy Reid has demonstrably elevated every quarterback he has coached, whether as a coordinator or head coach. Each has recorded their career best season under his guidance. Yet, we seldom entertain the notion that Patrick Mahomes benefits from this environment. That conversation is persistently sidestepped. Do not allow this matchup to be diminished to a simplistic Stafford versus Darnold affair. This is not the reality, particularly given Matthew Stafford's style of play. If the discussion involved a quarterback who routinely rushed for 80 yards and scored dynamic touchdowns, the conversation would differ substantially. It undoubtedly would. It is also instructive to observe how statistical arguments are selectively framed. Always exercise caution when metrics shift between total yards per game and pure passing yards, or when interceptions are contextualized differently. Maintain awareness of these analytical choices. For instance, since 2021, Josh Allen has 24 passing touchdowns, a figure that is abundantly clear. He has amassed over 300 total yards. I haven't parsed the passing yardage, as it's less relevant, and this excludes his rushing touchdowns. His passer rating is 108, with a completion percentage of 69.5%. Matthew Stafford's completion percentage over that span is 63.8%. And before the inevitable Super Bowl retort, should we examine Jalen Hurts' statistics as well? Jalen Hurts has also appeared in 2 Super Bowls, boasts more total touchdowns, and maintains a 10-to-1 touchdown-to-interception ratio. To clarify postseason performances in the most critical games, the Conference Championship and Super Bowl, Matthew Stafford's stats include 5 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, arguably should have been 4, a 67.1% completion rate, and a 93.3 passer rating with 7 big-time throws. In contrast, Jalen Hurts, in his Conference Championship and Super Bowl appearances, posted a 74% completion rate, 8 total touchdowns, 1 interception, 7 big-time throws, and a 114.3 passer rating. The evidence suggests one quarterback performed at a superior level in the season's most pivotal contests. These are merely statistical observations. I am simply presenting the data. I have no interest in hearing about roster disparities. The Rams, during their Super Bowl run, featured a Triple Crown winner at receiver, Sean McVay calling plays, and Odell Beckham Jr. I do not wish to entertain those excuses. The irony is that I intend to produce another video praising Matthew Stafford and the Rams extensively. My commitment is to accurate, nuanced conversation, not blind fandom or bias. I anticipate viewers of this segment labeling me a Stafford hater, which will be amusing when they encounter the other video where I detail why I consider him an all-time great, irrespective of this specific game's outcome. It will be entertaining to read those contrasting comments, all because I am striving to discuss the topic with precision. It is a rather peculiar dynamic. In conclusion, do not distort this into a Stafford versus the Seahawks narrative. That is a mischaracterization. This is the Seattle Seahawks versus the Los Angeles Rams. This is Sean McVay versus Mike McDonald. That is the definitive framework for understanding this matchup. Please be clear on that distinction. Those are my perspectives. I am absolutely eager to hear yours. What are your thoughts? Who are you selecting? Rams or Seahawks? Provide a direct answer. Furthermore, is Matthew Stafford truly the second best playoff performer since 2021, trailing only Patrick Mahomes? Share your opinions in the comments. I read every single one. Whether you agree or disagree, let's engage in some substantive discussions. Let's have some spirited debates. Ultimately, let's enjoy the discourse. Please consider subscribing. We are cultivating an exceptional community here, and I would be thrilled to have you participate. My goal is to build something we all feel authentically connected to, something we are genuinely excited to be part of. I believe we are making significant progress toward that objective. Also, please do not forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it genuinely assists with visibility and the algorithm. Thank you very much. I'll see you next time.